Hello, my fellow investors, and welcome back to another fundamental analysis video. Earnings season, guy, has pretty much essentially ended. So for the next couple days, maybe a couple weeks, we are going to be taking a look at your guys' recommendation, or at least I am. I don't necessarily know about Mike, but I will take a look at your guys' recommendations when it comes to the companies that you may want to buy. And today, guys, I want to take a look at a company that was brought up by a commenter here. I don't think I've ever seen you before, so if you're new, which I think you are, EM, I don't really have another name here on YouTube, but it says MVT5OB, sure, asking, hey sir, hope doing well. Yes, I am doing well. Can you please look at BJ? If you would invest in the company, please and thank you. So let's take a look at the company, guys. BJ. This is not the first time I have done this company. However, it's been quite some time since I've actually done this company. So I would like to cover them a little bit, seeing that it's similar to that of like Costco in a way, right? Massive warehouse kind of supplier. You could pretty much buy anything and everything when it comes to BJ's as a whole. So I want to take a look at this company, see their fundamentals, do a quick look at their summary when it comes to their earnings, since they recently had earnings as of, I believe, March 7th. So let's take a look at this company, guys, and see whether or not, if at the current share price, this is looking like a buy. So before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help grow with the algorithm on YouTube as well as Rumble. Make sure to follow us on X. And with that said, let's get started with this analysis. So now let's jump into the company profile. Just in case if somebody here doesn't know what this company actually does, I want to cover this very, very briefly. So we got BJ's Wholesale Club Holdings, together with its subsidiaries, operates warehouse clubs on the eastern half of the United States. It provides groceries, general merchandise, gasoline, and other ancillary services, coupons, books, and promotions. The company sells its products through websites bjs.com, Berkeley Jensen, and Wellesley Farms, oh wow, as well as the mobile app. So yeah, guys, it is essentially a similar company to that of Costco. Again, massive warehouse company where you could buy pretty much everything and everything. So that is essentially their company profile. And with that, let's now jump into their earnings. Specifically, their earnings summary. Last quarter's earnings was announced on March 7th. EPS normalized actual coming in at $1.11, beating by 5 cents. EPS gap actual $1.08, beats by 2 cents. Revenue of $5.36 billion. It was a miss, guys, by $39.89 million. If we take a look at the next upcoming earnings, we can see that this is for May 21st, 2024. An EPS estimate is supposed to be 84 cents. That's a massive drop. EPS gap estimate of 83 cents. Another massive drop. In the revenue of $4.84 billion. And as you guys can see, in the last 9 days, 20 total revisions, 15 of them to the downside. And now to be more exact, let's take a look at their actual earnings news. You can see BJ's Wholesale Club, non-GAAP EPS of $1.11, beats by 5. You already read this. Revenue of $5.36 billion, misses by 40 million. They're rounding up essentially, but let's take a look at this. This revenue of $5.36 billion is up 8.7% year over year. However, it was still a miss. Comparable club sales, excluding gasoline sales, increased by 0.5% year over year, led by accelerating traffic. Membership fees income increased by 6.5% year over year to $108.4 million. The company continued to achieve a 90% tenured member renewal rate during fiscal 2023. Digital enabled comparable sales growth of 28% year over year. That's huge. The company opened 6 new clubs and 6 new gas stations since the third quarter. The company provided the following guidance for 2024. Comparable club sales, excluding the impact of gasoline sales, to increase 1 to 2% year over year. Merchandise gross margins to improve approximately 20 basis points year over year. Adjusted EPS to range from $3.75 to $4. And capital expenditures to be approximately $500 million. So now, guys, let's jump into the calculator. I'm fairly certain this is what you guys all want to see. So we got the ticker for BJ, market cap of $9.9 billion and a PE of 19.26. So this PE is already looking really interesting, with a current share price of $74.64. Looking at this graph on the 1 year, they are down almost 2.5%. Year to date, they're up a whopping, wow, 12%. And you can see by this 52-week range that the low was $60.33 and a high of $78.97. Let's take a look at this in the 5-year to see the overall highest peak. And we can see that, wow, even from, guys, 2022, this has just been a straight line forward. You had chances to buy this at around like near that 52-week low, as you guys can see over here. But all in all, essentially from September 9th 2022, all the way till now, it has just been a straight line. As of today, April 1st, 2024, this thing fell 1.34% or $1 and a penny. Coming back into the calculator, we can see that they do not pay out a dividend, which is fairly surprising. However, this means that all of their free cash flow is going straight into themselves, but this 10-year average free cash flow, as you can see, it is $279.39 million, and their last year's free cash flow, it is $252 million. So this is already kind of concerning, because usually when the last year's is lower than the average, it tells me that this is on the downtrend, or at least the last year's is less than the average. So we need to see if this is a blip on the graph, or is this an actual trend? So now let's jump into the actual graph. So we got the net income 5 years ago of $24.1 million to 1 year ago of $523.7 million. Now, before we actually go any further, understand that the 2 and the 1 year ago are exactly the same. We were missing the 10-year mark by 1 year. So I just extended the 2 year ago value to the 1 year ago value, just so that way it makes sense. But understand that this is technically their 2024 year. It's very, very weird on how their fiscal year ends. But yes, 2 years ago for them guys was technically 2024. So please understand that. Nonetheless though, this is an increase of 2,073% on the 10 year. And I gotta say, aside from the 5 year ago value doing a massive spike, this is still trending upwards pretty consistently. I'm gonna give this guys a solid 75%. Now here we get to see the free cash flow in action. And I gotta say, this is pretty much all over the place. However, I don't really know what to make of this, because we got 10 years ago $47 million, and 1 year ago is $251.8 million. Well, that is an increase of 436% with an average of $279.4 million. As we saw, this graph is just all over the place, right? I mean, you got up, down, and then massive spike 5 years ago, but then just steady decrease. I don't know where this is going, guys. I'm gonna have to go with a 50%. The revenue, on the other hand, looks actually really good. Not even gonna lie. We got 10 years ago of $12.47 billion to 1 year ago of almost $20 billion. Absolutely crazy. An increase of 60.16%. You can tell that there was nothing really much happening from 10 to 6 years ago, increasing, but it was slight. And then 5 years ago, it was when it really ramped up. In fact, let me actually find out what 5 years ago actually was for BJ's. And this actually does explain it. Guys, 5 years ago, it was January of 2021, meaning that this takes into account, not majority, all of 2020. That explains it. So you guys could see right there, from 13.2 billion upwards of $15.4 billion. So that spike right there is a COVID spike, which honestly is kind of acceptable. And you can see it wasn't even just like a blip, it continued. So all in all, I'm gonna have to say a solid, like a 95% when it comes to the revenue. Now let's take a look at the total assets as a reference only. You guys can see that it is increasing. And when it comes to the total liabilities as a reference only, you can see that it's actually stagnating from 6 years ago to today. Doing the assets minus the liabilities though, we can see that this is actually interesting, because 10 years ago, well, 9 and 8 years ago also, and even 7 and 6 years ago in the negative, but only as of 5 years ago, ironically enough during COVID, this actually became into the positive. For average total assets of 4.77 billion, liabilities of 4.34 billion, that's a tight margin. Assets minus liabilities of $432.5 million. I'm gonna say, guys, this honestly, in the past 5 years, they have been doing really, really good, but it's still a really, really tight margin overall. I'm gonna say a solid like a 60%. Now, even though the cash flow is decreasing, ironically though, the cash flow minus the liabilities is kind of remaining the same at around this let's say $4 billion or so, right? And well, we can see that the average is around $4 billion. So all in all, 1 year ago, it is almost negative $5 billion. But honestly, I'm going to give this guys like I'm going to say like a 55%. It is still decreasing. They have had instances of it getting better. However, it's still decreasing overall. Though they did have well, actually 10 years ago, well, I guess it's actually interesting, because 10 years ago this isn't the positive, but the reason for it is because we don't have the 10-year ago data for the liability. So that's why that's in the positive. Not really a point to note. I'm going to give it guys a 55%. Now, taking a look at the shares outstanding, this is very, very interesting, because we can see that 10 years ago, it's 87.9 million shares to today of 132.8 million shares. This is an increase of 51.08%. Now, this is a massive jump from 8 years ago to 7 years ago, going from 88.5 million to 7 years ago of 137.3 million. However, you guys could see that, well, they have been decreasing it ever since then. In fact, in some cases, they kept it the same. Like you guys could see, 7 to 6 years ago, the exact same number. All in all, though, I'm going to say that this was something that happened with them. I'm going to say, guys, they are decreasing it at a pretty good rate right now. I'm going to say like a 60, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say a 70%. And lastly, when it comes into the cash and equivalents, they currently hold $36 million and an average of $35.51 million. Looking now at the overall grade, it's actually surprising that this got a 69%. Guys, the main issue that I see here, it is mainly their free cash flow. Honestly, if their free cash flow was a little bit more reliable, I guess you could say, this would easily be 70% or even higher. Problem is that it's just all over the place. So 69%, guys, anything between 60 to 69, it's good, but proceed with caution kind of company. Now, if we take a look at the discounted free cash flow, this is very, very, well, interesting because, guys, straight off the bat, not inputting anything, $218, not adjusting for debt, and adjusting for debt, $196.59. Now, granted, this is not with any required rate of return, no projected share buyback, and no revenue growth. However, this company, guys, is I guess it's fairly easy to make assumptions for, seeing that, well, the average 10-year revenue is only 6%. So let's start off with that. Let's start off with the revenue growth assumption. And let's say for the next 10 years that they'll do a little bit less. Let's say 5 for the median. Then let's bring it down to 3. And then let's bring it up by 2. And let's say 7%. I think that that's very, very fair. Now, for the 10-year predicted share buyback, right now they've issued 51%. The problem is that they are buying back, and I believe that they're going to buy back at around, I don't know, let's just say, honestly, let's say the same. Let's say 3%, then let's say 5%, and then let's say 7% for the predicted share buyback for the 10-year assumption. Now, you guys are seeing these numbers, and you're like, this is insane. However, this is where things are going to change, right? The required rate of return. Because this kind of company, guys, it's not a, this is not a tech company. You can't put in 25%. It's a really slow company when it comes to growth. So I'm gonna have to say a really low number for this. I'm gonna say at around let's just say at around maybe like 2. Then let's say, oh, actually that's right. Once I put 2, that really is it. No. It's a required rate of return. I'm not saying how much they're going to grow. That's the revenue. But instead, how much do I want to get in return back? Seeing the guys that this is a really seeing that this company is a really big company to begin with, and there's not a lot of innovations going on. I'm going to say that I would at least like to match the market at around. The market does at around 7 to 10%, so let's say at around 8% overall. And with this, we get $139.76 to $203.10, and then adjusting for debt, $117, $279.52. Margin of safety of 5, 10, and 15, $99.54, $270.54. So based on the current share price, guys, this is looking like a pretty good buy at the moment. However, if we were to change this required rate of return of 10%, well, now it's actually even more interesting, because assuming that we want to match the S&P 500, you would need to buy this company at a 15% margin of safety, $67.56 for the lowest assumption, which actually puts us right at the money when it comes to the current share price. So as you guys can see, this actually may be a pretty decent price to buy it right now in accordance to these assumptions. Now, obviously, my assumptions, not your guys' assumptions. I give this calculator out for free because this is not financial advice, and that every investment is the present value of all future cash flow. With the company getting a grade from me at 69%, proceed with caution, mainly due to the cash flow, and the discounted free cash flow saying that this may be a buy at the current moment based off of these assumptions. Guys, I would suggest do more research when it comes to this. Please do more research if you are interested to buy into this company. Honestly, I think I would for the current price. Not that I will, but I'm saying I would. After I do my own due diligence when it comes to this first, though. So please understand that, guys. And this calculator is available for free. So all in all, guys, that pretty much does it when it comes to BJ's. I gotta say, very interesting company. There are better ones out there, but to be fair, though, those other ones are very much expensive. So I do understand where the appeal for this one comes from, right? Costco right now, stupid expensive. This one, I kind of understand it. So yeah, please do your own due diligence. And that pretty much does it for this analysis. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Really does help her with the algorithm on YouTube as well as Rumble. Make sure to follow us on X. And if you guys would like to see us live, we are live Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube and Rumble, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, make sure you stop by, especially tomorrow, since tomorrow we will be announcing and releasing, I guess you could say, the link to our Discord channel. So if you guys would like to join in on that, make sure to stop by the stream there. So thank you so much for watching. Peace out, and we will see you all next time.